Meeting to order. It's the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cotonwood, Arizona, held on June 18th, 2013 at 6 p.m. at the Council Chambers Building. Deputy Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Pratt?
Here.
Councilmember Dowling?
Here.
Councilmember Linsky? Here. Vice Mayor Piper?
Here.
Mayor Jones?
Here.
Councilmember Hoagie is present by phone, and I think Councilmember Garrison is somewhere.
He's here somewhere, yes. Okay. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. And would Mr. Ledbetter be willing to come up and lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
For all. Thank you very much. The next item is a brief summary of current events by the mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during this summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Mr. Bartosh.
Madam Mayor, council members, just two quick items. We are planning our July 4th celebration and fireworks show, and by all indications so far, it looks like that'll go off. Excuse me. And also this week, our request for bids for the 10th Street reconstruction went out, so that is moving ahead, and hopefully we'll be able to get started on that soon.
Okay.
That's it, Madam Mayor.
Council members, Vice Mayor.
I had the privilege of babysitting for an 18-month-old Friday so that my 6-year-old great-granddaughter could go to daddy-daughter dance at the rec center. She had a blast. They had a really good time. Some of her classmates and friends were there. So Nicole Tabor and Stephen Tabor, I failed to get a picture of them. I'm going to have to find one. Maybe the newspaper has one. But it's quite an event for the young ladies and their daddies, and I would encourage it, just seeing how excited she was at my house getting dressed for her first date, and it happened to be Dad. It's just something that she'll never forget, and I'd like to see more children be able to participate in it. It was wonderful.
That's great. Saw all the pictures on the internet of the daddies and their daughters dancing and eating a nice meal.
And they got she came in with her corsage, but they had it pinned on my dress. So I said, okay.
Well, that's fantastic. Other members of the council? No? Okay. I didn't prepare a report today. I got too busy, so you guys are going to have a break.
Wow.
All right. So moving on to the next item is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action. Comments are limited to a 5-minute time period. So item number 6 is approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve minutes of May 21st, 2013.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Pratt made the motion. Mr. Dowling seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Did I skip it? Call to the public. Sorry, I'm just checking them off and screaming down the agenda. So at this time, is this for call to the public? Okay, this is for an item that is on the agenda. Anything that's not on the agenda that someone would like to discuss? Okay, moving on. Comments regarding items listed on the agenda are limited to a 5-minute time period per speaker. Item number 7 is unfinished business. We have 2 items under unfinished business. The first is ordinance number 596, amending the City of Cotonwood zoning ordinance by adding a new section 310 Historic Preservation Ordinance, second and final reading. Mr. Scully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. This is the second reading for the ordinance adding a section to the new section to the zoning ordinance for historic preservation. The effect of this ordinance would be to create a framework for the historic preservation program. It sets up the criteria for establishing a local historic landmark process, sets up procedures for the overlay district, the criteria for and procedures for that, sets up a review process and for work done to those properties once established, as well as some procedures for demolition. I point out that the adopting this ordinance does not have an effect on any particular specific property at this time. It sets up the procedures. That would come later, working with the property owners, working through a public process, doing education and outreach. So this sets up the framework for the program that we've been working on with the Historic Preservation Commission for the past couple of years, so that we can provide more options and more benefits for property owners in Cotonwood. Provides more, it'll be up to them to take advantage of those incentives and state and federal level, but this gives them that opportunity.
Okay, and we've discussed this in great detail at a work session, so the council has had an opportunity to vet the ordinance, and it's gone through its first reading. Councilmember Elinsky, you've been on board with this since the inception, and probably we could say that you pushed to create this historical commission and this ordinance. Would you like to comment on anything for the public at all?
Just to say that we've really worked hard on this ordinance. We've been meeting over 2 years now, and it's been a long, hard battle to get to where we are now, but certainly a lot of thought's gone into it. The Commission's active and very eager to get going on some landmarking and public outreach in the community, so we're just appreciate the council's support, and we're looking forward to moving forward on it.
We're hoping too by this process that we might have opportunities to get grant monies for, we're looking at the Civic Center and all of those things, and our budget is very small and doesn't always accommodate all of our needs. So, this process, as we were discussing in our last meeting, may accommodate
That's right.
some of those needs and kind of give us a boost.
Yeah, this is, well, with the adoption of this ordinance, we'll be one step closer to getting our certified local government status, which will allow us, hopefully, if money is freed up at the state, to apply for some grants and get some money coming in that would be free of charge to the city of Cotonwood, so we can make some of these projects happen that we have in mind. And the big one is definitely the Civic Center, getting that restored. There's a million other projects that we could do, but adopting this ordinance is going to get us one step closer.
And then I think council was generally pleased to see that it was respectful of private property rights, and that if someone didn't want to be in this district, that they would not be required to be. And I want to thank our city attorney for ensuring and reading that and rewriting it, or helping to rewrite it, and lending us his advice to be respectful of those who might not wish to participate. So are there any comments from the public on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 597.
596.
I think we're on
Oh,
6.
6, I'm sorry, 596.
Second.
Okay, the vice mayor made the motion. Councilmember Pratt seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Deputy Clerk, please read ordinance number 596 by title only.
Ordinance number 596, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Arizona, amending the city of Cottonwood zoning ordinance by adding a new section 310 historic preservation ordinance. Madam Mayor.
Okay, and moving on to a similar related ordinance. It's ordinance number 597. Mr. Scully.
Yes, this is a companion to the previous ordinance. It establishes the overlay zoning district for historic preservation. And again, this does not affect any specific property. It only sets up a classification within the zoning ordinance. That it would come later through a process of working with the property owners, working through a public process. But it establishes that zoning district classification that's related to the historic preservation.
And I guess I didn't finish, it might help if I finish reading. It's amending the City of Cottonwood zoning ordinance by adding a new section 427 HP zone or historical preservation overlay zone, and it is the second and final reading. Any comments on this? Any additional comments? Any comments from the public on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 597.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Elinsky made the motion. Councilmember Howdiggy seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Deputy Clerk, please read ordinance number 597 by title only.
Ordinance number 597, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, amending the City of Cottonwood zoning ordinance by adding a new section 427 HP zone, historic preservation overlay zone. Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item number 8, consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item number 1 is a new liquor license application for Claire H. Abel, applicant for Dollar General Store number 12053, located at 408 South Main Street. Item number 2 is consideration of a new liquor license application for Jamie L. Fulmer, applicant for Fire Mountain Wines, located at 1010 North Main Street. Item number 3 is intergovernmental agreement with Mingus Union High School for use of the Cotonwood Aquatic Center pool from August 2013 to November 2013. Item number 4 is resolution number 2701, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Yavapai County Emergency Services Department for the continuation of Unified Emergency Services. Is there an item that a member of the council would like to pull to discuss, Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I've been talked to a large number of our citizens. I would like, on their behalf, I'd like to pull item number 3.
Okay.
There was folks that requested a
All right.
opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from the audience, our citizens, would like to pull another item? If not, we'll pull item number 3, and I would entertain a motion for items 1, 2, and 4. Did I read 4? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I move
Sorry.
to approve items 1, 2, and 4 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Pratt made the motion. Councilmember Elinsky seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So item number 3, intergovernmental agreement with
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Could not read the resolution that was on the consent.
I'm just like, kind of like the horse let out of the gate, trying to get to the barn. Okay. Yes. Deputy Clerk, please read resolution number 2701. Thank you.
Resolution number 2701, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with Yavapai County Emergency Services Department for the continuation of the Unified Emergency Services. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Back to item number 3, the intergovernmental agreement with Mingus Union High School for use of the Cotonwood Aquatic Center pool from August 2013 to November 2013. Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I just, thought I've talked to a number of my fellow citizens who said they would like to address this issue.
Okay.
And I thought in fairness that they should be allowed to speak.
Absolutely.
And I'm certainly willing to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was some concern over some of the facts last time. I would say let's hear from the citizens.
Okay. So I would like anybody that would like to speak to this item? I'm thinking Mr. Ty or Mr. Ledbetter, or both of you might like to address, or Mr. Waddle, to address concerns.
He's new in town, so he says you go first. So
He's kind of feeling his way, right?
hitting the ground running and doing a good job. Madam Mayor, members of council, and Mr. Haragi, thank you for the time to speak briefly on this topic. We received the numbers this past week, and unfortunately, for some reason, we didn't get good notice to be here when you were looking at this the last time. And for the 3-month period that the Mingus High School would like to use the pool as, for its swim team, the Parks and Rec Department projects $28,205.56 in expense. In this past week, we've looked hard at those numbers and run those numbers through places like Unisource, had APS look at the numbers. We've sent it off to some other municipalities, including the city of Sedona, and seen their actual operational costs at the same time. And as you know, the intergovernmental agreement strives to set a low number, which the city manager has been very helpful in setting that low number, a lower number than the actual operational costs. But candidly, operational costs, for example, let's take the total water usage here that's projected, and actual numbers were presented, of course, and realizing the city has some control over the water supply in Cotonwood. But looking at the actual numbers, someone from my office went down and spoke to the city today, and it looks like that's the number, that the calculation and the total cost that was projected by Parks and Recs looks like 870,000 gallons of water is in the total water number of $4,179.62 in your projected costs, taking that item. So I turned it over to some Mingus math kids today to say, tell me what, I'm a lawyer, I don't know what 870,000 gallons of water looks like. It's a cube. It's a cube 140 yards long by 140 yards high by 140 yards wide. That's a cube you could see from space. With all due respect, there's not 870,000 gallons of water going through that pool. If there are, there's a problem. And something odd is happening. And likewise, the cost for that 3-month period, according to the baseline projections for costs for the gas service, was $6,444.77 for the gas service. That's a very, very high number for gas service, according to Unisource. Spoke to them today. And then we had the numbers for the actual operational costs for gas service from the city of Sedona, which is an outside pool, same size. Sedona was good enough to give us their actual hard operational costs. And if you take the outdoor expenses as projected in the last city council meeting of $159,000 of the total operational cost for the outdoor pool, and compare them to Sedona's, Sedona operates at a higher elevation, requiring more heating. Their total operational costs, actual cost expenditures, were only $70,000 last year. So, as the Mingus Board has looked at this, and many, many, many people have come forward who have either been involved in the swim program in the past or currently involved in the swim program, have asked Mingus to take a real hard look at this, because the actual number, even if we go forward on the $9,000, almost $10,000 number that's offered by the city, is just undoable these days with a school budget. And again, I respect that cities under a similar strain, but the school districts don't have the same taxing ability, of course, as does a public entity like a city. And at the end of the day, very, very tough to come up and figure out that money. But looking at the operational costs of your outside pool alone, as was projected to you by Parks and Rec, and sending this off to other cities, we sent them off to a total of 4. We can't come up with a number on how an outdoor pool would actually cost $159,000 a year. The numbers are high, very high. So though the Mingus Board has not had an opportunity to meet with this because we need to notice it publicly and do a meeting, at least 2 board members, myself and another, and have talked to the administration, we'd have a proposal for the city. We would ask the city to lease it to Mingus for $1, and Mingus would pay all of the costs of operation. Mingus would buy all the chemical costs. When we looked at the chemical costs for the chemical charges that you were proposing for Mingus, that's $4,739.55 for a 3-month period. That's in excess of 1,000 pounds of chlorine. If 1,000 pounds of chlorine is going into the pool over 3 months, we probably need to notice the U.S. Department of Environmental Quality, because we probably have a hazardous waste site. That was probably numbers purchased contemporaneously to spread out over the entire year, because an entire year of costs in the Sedona outdoor pool was $4,000 was their actual expenditures for chemical costs. So we know the chemical costs couldn't be almost $5,000 for 3 months when other outdoor pools in the area, and people who own pools understand this, that's a really, really high number. So it was probably a number of chemicals purchased at that time that were spread out over the rest of the year. If so, there's something wrong in the operation of the pool. All of that said, many other towns have gone into agreements with schools in which the school is renting it for $1 and the school pays all the operational costs. They send over their custodians, and the intergovernmental agreement reflects that. The school insures it during those time periods, and then the school just assumes all of that cost. And that will take us away from the concern of many people that have come before our board, who have written to our board saying, the city's charging too much. They're trying to pass expense off to you that's not fair. If Mingus comes forward and says, we'll cover 100% of those operational costs during that time period, we don't have to worry about were the numbers correct. We will just ask that, and Unisource has said they would do this, APS has said they do this, they do actual meter reads, and you get a bill. So we'll be able to actually know the actual hard cost numbers. And I'm not saying that somebody's trying to dummy up the numbers. I just think that the numbers are inconsistent with what other places do in terms of pool operational costs. And Mingus thinks that can operate at significantly less than even the fractional number that's been proposed. So we would ask that tonight, that the council at this moment not pass the intergovernmental agreement, or even pass it but hold it in a little bit of abeyance and allow us to come forward with an intergovernmental agreement proposal to you that would have, to the city manager's satisfaction, the operational stuff of the pool during that time period that the swim team is using it to be fully run and fully paid for at 100% by Mingus High School. Because again, having looked at other high schools who are doing the same thing with other municipalities, looking at their actual costs to run a pool facility during that time, it'll turn out well. And for example, one last thing, your highest operational costs last year for that pool were in November. And according to the gas receipts that your city was good enough to supply, your operational costs for utilities during the month of November was the highest. Makes sense. That was the coldest time of the year. But the kids were out of the pool in very early November. So it appears that your pool was heated, at least that's borne out by the actual documentation, and operated for the entire month of November. And Mingus would, to the city's satisfaction, close it down long before that. And that assumes, of course, the kids go to state, which they need to go to state after all this, right? Yeah, they have to go to state. So the pool wouldn't be needed if they don't make it to state, but we're hoping for the very best and looking at what is roughly a 3-month time period. And just asking the city to consider that. We'll insure it, we'll operate it. It happens consistently across the state of Arizona. And that takes us away from what we are getting when the city's numbers were looked at, and good citizens in this town have gone out and brought me a lot of data. So I did the follow-up, I called the areas that they were contacting and talked to those people. And it looks like the city's numbers are off. But that said, we can take all of that off the table. And if we can come forward and say, during the time period that is exclusive use for Mingus, that would be great. Or alternatively, we would propose as an alternative, instead of just having Mingus operate it, rent us the lanes. If we rent the lane charges as the actual expense, what you do to other people in the community when they want to rent a lane at the pool, the lane costs, if we just rent lanes and do that as the operational cost in this intergovernmental agreement, it'll save Mingus High School a considerable amount of money. And these kids, and kind of heartwarming, I had a number of calls from actual students who've been through the program, some of whom are in the Coast Guard, others of whom are on swimming scholarships at NEU. And they've called me to say, hey, this is a great program. You guys got to keep it alive. And because it's made a difference, a significant difference in a number of kids' lives in this town. So we're trying to figure out the best way to do it. Mingus does not have the money to do it under the existing intergovernmental agreement. In fact, I don't think any school district really has that much, because even Dr. Tai agreed to work on a part-time salary in order for us to make budgetary needs this year. And so unless Dr. Tai is willing to work for nothing, I don't know where we're going to find the rest of the money in the budget. That's not a proposal necessarily. You're welcome. So anyway, thank you all for your time. That would be the two options that we are trying to work through. Full operational costs, 100% borne by Mingus, because again, we think we can do it more efficiently, and we think we can do it for considerably less. And in the research that we've done over the last 48 hours, we're confident of that. But alternatively, we would ask that you do what you do with other folks and just rent lanes. And the rental lane charge charges are usually, I think, $80 a lane for the rental is what you currently charge.
Depends on what council would like to identify. Normally, between 12 and 15, if you're looking at 1,155 hours of use, you're probably close to 12,000 a year.
The actual use time, though, when you take it to an hourly basis, is 162 hours that the kids with practices are physically in the pool. It wouldn't be appropriate to calculate it on a 24-hour or even a 12-hour interval. If you're renting lanes, it's appropriate to count it when they're in the pool. Well, if I were to go rent a lane tonight, I don't have to rent the lane for 24 hours. At least that's how it's historically been. So, and again, this is the type of argument that I think it's best in this community that we avoid, because it raises doubt operationally as to what people are doing when citizens in Cotonwood walk into APS and say, it costs $9,295 to heat the outdoor pool during the month of, or to provide power, to the outdoor pool for 3 months. Even people at APS raise their eyebrows. It just is strange for your utility costs to be $17,000 for 3 months. It's an odd number. For your water costs to be $4,200. For your sewer costs to be $1,900. I mean, water and sewer, that's $6,000 at the pool for that number. And again, we don't want to come in and say, hey, you guys got to rework all your numbers, they're not right. But when you take the operational costs for an outdoor pool, and even go to the closest adjacent community and say, what does it cost to operate your outdoor pool? They're well under 50% of the operational costs of what the Cotonwood pool operates at. So we'd suggest let Mingus take all the risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Staff, we do have Mr. Osher would like to speak, but did you have any comments? Just a moment. Staff, do you have any response to our erroneous numbers?
I think that, as we look at this is just, these are not erroneous figures, council. These are figures that are actually taken directly from each invoice from APS, UNS Gas, et cetera, for the months basically from August, September, October, and November. But again, most of the billings are from mid-August through basically mid-November. The indications that staff is running the pool heat after November 6th or 7th or whatever are totally false. We turn off the pool directly after that. We don't do anything of that nature. We try to help Mingus Union High School out, as well as the city. There is no way that we would fathomably continue to operate the pool with heat going on when there's nobody in that pool. The other indications are by Mr. Ledbetter is that that he checked with Sedona Pools and everybody else, but no one has a pool as large as ours. We were actually rather dumbfounded in reality as we put down here for the background statement for the meeting information was that we were looking at costs that were fluctuating between $17,000 and $22,000. And as we went back and took a look at last year, remember, we were looking originally 3 years ago at a 220,000 gallon pool. We increased that to 300,000, a little bit over 300,000 gallons. Sedona does not have a dive well. We have a large diving area, and that is a massive size facility. And again, we're looking at $156,000 a year to run and operate the pool facility. And these are the probably two of the heaviest months besides April that we actually do as we operate the pool. And heat is one of the massive aspects of heating a large body of water. It takes a lot of money. And the same thing with chlorine or residual chlorine. There's no reason to bore counsel with as to how the sun basically leaches out chlorine out of the water. People that work with pools know that happens on a continuous basis. For us to be able to turn over all operations, et cetera, to Mingus Union High School, I don't even think would be allowed by the state in the context of how we have to provide for a specific bather load context for chlorine and the residual chlorine and how that works out per hour and the testing that goes on. It has to be done by certified individuals. And then the aspect also of it is will our liability in the context of even Southwest Risk through the risk management aspect of things, would they allow Mingus Union High School to even operate and run the pool? I dare not think so. Again, we have certified people that operate that pool. We have WSI certified instructors also. We certify everybody all the way through for state programming and state certification levels. And these aren't fictitious facts. I mean, we're presenting here the honest truth of the matter, that 300,000 plus gallons of water takes an awful lot. And again, the one thing is to say that there's a problem here. People don't realize that pools are black holes. They absorb a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of chemicals that actually go into a pool facility, and that's where we're at this point in time. You know, we can go back and take a look at, you know, lap lane cost. We can say the same thing as we've identified here, is that there's entities that charge only for chemicals or utilities during times of school use. Predominantly, this is the case down in the Phoenix area. With City of Chandler, there's others that we checked into. That's exactly what they do. They turn over the bills to the high school or whoever utilizes the facility, and they pay those bills. And these are directly from the bills. I can get counsel every single one of these bills. And again, it's not as if we're sitting here and we're falsifying figures or information. That's false. What you have here is realistic information and realistic numbers. And again, you know, there's a possibility that we could go to a lap lane per use hour. There is that option. We figured that what we were doing was helping Mingus Union High School by saying, you know, that this would work out better on a 50% basis. And again, we're looking at really close to $28,205. And then the previous years, again, were a little less. But again, what we're seeing here is we're seeing transportation costs going up and skyrocketing. We're seeing also chemical costs going up and skyrocketing. And we're seeing that water costs are going up. We're seeing all of these issues for utilities. APS is the same way. UNS gas, it's all going up. And these are the problems that we're running into as a city. And how we react to that, even with our own buildings, it's the same way. The recreation center is it's a giant house, and it's one that just burns an awful lot. You know, we spend a lot of energy on that building to keep it warm or cool. And it's the same thing with this. These things are beasts. They absorb an awful lot. That's why we always refer to them as black holes. But Sedona does not have a dive well. Neither Prescott Valley has a smaller pool than we do. They probably, I think, run close to about a 215,000 gallon pool. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, is that it is a large pool facility. And again, I'll answer any other questions.
So it sounds like maybe we're comparing apples and oranges when we compare our pool with other pools. I mean, they're just not able to compare.
It is, and then it's also in the context of operations on how we actually try to get to our parts per million in chlorine. You know, we try to keep a very safe pool. One of the biggest problems in the Phoenix area that was last year that everybody saw on a continuous basis was various types of viruses and bacterial bugs that are in the water. And you get below a specific part per million on chlorine, then you're going to get hit. And there were a lot of lawsuits last year from parents, et cetera, that were utilizing pools, and their kids caught these different things. And this is one thing we're really concerned with. That's one of the reasons why we utilize the chlorine that we do on the gas chlorine. And we want to keep it to the level that the state specifically identifies. We have to turn over the water. And this is part of the process, is that there has to be a specific amount. I think it's 13 to 14 replacements of water. So you've got 300,000 gallons going by on a 24-hour basis that is supposed to be recycled through the pumps, so that the water is filtered up to 12 times to 13 times every 24 hours. That takes an awful lot of movement of pumps. That's a lot of APS energy that's going through to move those pumps. And so it kind of depends on what these other pools are actually doing, but we're doing it by state guidelines. We're doing it by state, in reality, state policy. And we also have that same policy. We mimic the same policy as the state. We don't go above it. We don't go below it. That's what we do. And it costs a lot of money.
So do all of the communities that have pools around us, do they use the gas chlorine, or do they use different types? Does everyone use gas?
Not everybody uses gas. Some will use the hypochlorite pucks. It depends on the system, and you know, in that context of things, we actually, and I think I need to step back, is we actually use the hypochlorite pucks, right? At this point, we went from gas to hypochlorite pucks, but some
Okay.
are still utilizing residual gas.
We use pucks.
Yes.
Okay.
They're actually briquettes.
Right.
Briquettes, okay. So based on what you're saying, it's almost a fear to me that if we go to this exact cost, that it might be more than you anticipated.
We have the numbers. I mean, I'm not trying to give Richard grief.
Could you come up to the lectern so that we can transcribe and...
We have the numbers, and the cost and the number was, it's the briquettes. It's 1,000 pounds of the chlorine for the briquettes. And we talk about, it's almost suggested that it's rocket science to operate the pool. Our swim coach attended the very same training session that your employees attended for pool operations. We have many certified individuals. We're certified in water safety. In fact, most of your lifeguards are students at our high school.
We understand
so we're not
that.
too worried about covering all these things. And
That's really why I hate it that our pool is closed when your kids go back to school. And this is Arizona. We could use it a lot longer, you know, for the public, but we have no lifeguards. So.
And that's, yeah, and that's an excellent point. The underlying premise is this: why in the first place is the city considering passing off the expense of operations of the pool to the students in the first place? I mean, that's an initial fundamental question, because understand the pressure we're under. People came forward at our last board meeting and listed every time the city, fire department, guns and hoses, every time we've operated the facilities for free at no charge to the city. And in this last year, there's a monthly use by the police for obstacle course. We want that to continue. The Verde Valley Fire Academy has used the auditorium twice in the last 2 months. The SWAT team's there and uses it for training. We do the mass casualty training. The Explorers Academy has been there for the last 3 years. Classrooms 5 days for 8 days, 8 hours a day. The football field is used for physical training for 5 hours a day. The Verde Valley Fire Department basketball game has been there for the last 2 years. Guns and Hoses is there.
So I do have to say that Guns and Hoses is only there as a fundraiser for your football team, right? I mean, doesn't all of the money go to you?
No.
Okay, I was
Short
told
answer.
that. I was told that it did.
And then also there's the cleanup costs afterwards for the
Right.
custodians. So here's our dilemma. If the premise is that we exchange tax dollars and take dollars out of the classroom and give them to the city of Cotonwood, we have to legitimately say, all right, Cotonwood, we've got to start trading tax dollars back. We've got to start charging you for all these uses. And we've had a great relationship before. And with all due respect, there are many schools that operate pools to state standards. We're all abiding by the same standard. There's not a school exception for state operational costs for operating a pool. It's the same standard. And you guys did switch over to the briquettes, and you bought 1,000 pounds of briquettes. Even your supplier for the 1,000 pounds, called Aquatic Environmental Systems, Inc., indicates that 1,000 pounds of briquette chlorine would not be used over a 3-month period. But this is the dilemma. This is what we want to try to avoid. We don't want to come and say, with all due respect, they're mistaken on that side. We really do believe the operational costs were cheaper. It will be at state standards. It has to be. In fact, we're not going to risk our kids in doing that. And so, at the end of the day, we've had the same training, and an intergovernmental agreement can do this. And by the way, we're already insured, and Southwest Risk already approves it. And you have to be an additional insured under the policy as it exists today. That's in the intergovernmental agreement that's been proposed, and it has always been there. So all these parade of concerns, with all respect, are concerns that have already been addressed in other communities. Many of them have already been addressed in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, when folks contacted me, I thought about it and said, the city's been very good to the high school. The high school's been very good to the city. We support each other. And I thought, yeah, maybe we can come to some kind of agreement that doesn't hurt the city and doesn't hurt the high school. And I think that's what we're talking about tonight. And we can continue our friendly cooperation with each other, because we really do support the high school. And Mr. Ledbetter said, most of the lifeguards are actually Mingus Union High School students. And the swim program is a terrific program. So my hope was that we could come to some kind of agreement somewhere down the line that would hurt neither entity.
If I may also, and I know that Mr. Ledbetter was identifying that specifically the chemical costs are just inclusive of the briquettes, and they're not. We utilize caustic soda drums in the context of that also, and so when we're utilizing caustic soda and the briquettes or the pucks, either way, it basically, that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the chemicals within the pool area as a kind of a living atmosphere, if you will, inside that facility to actually be balanced and titrated out. So that's part of it, and that's part of the cost there for chemicals. And then in the context of Sedona and utilizing Sedona's pool goes from 4 feet to 7 feet. Ours goes from basically 3.8 feet to 12 and a half feet deep. And so there's a big area there of another pool in reality, bigger than what Sedona has. And so we have like 2 pools compared to Sedona's pool. So I mean, that's one of those considerations. The other one is that why do we charge children's programming? In the 1993 Parks and Recreation Code, as it's codified for the ordinance specifically, it states that we will, as Parks and Recreation officials, obtain 50% for all children's programming. And we try to do 100% then for all adult programming. So again, it's by ordinance, it's by the code. That's what we've done ever since. It's historical, and that's the direction we move. And it's the same way with the high school. They are youth, and we're asking for, we're only asking for $9,350 versus $28,200. There's a big difference there, and we're not asking right now for the 50%. And so I think that that's the issue also is that there's a large gap there in between. So I'm just trying to set the record straight there as to why we do what we do. We are different than Mingus Union High School in the way that we govern and the way that we operate. We're trying to identify that we are the ones that operate these facilities, and we would like to obtain at least maybe a 50% or a little bit less as it pertains to the charges. So that's all I would like to say.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Bartosh.
Madam Mayor, I might suggest to the council that you table this item tonight. This is the first staff has heard about this proposal for a different plan, a different IGA, and there's certainly been a lot of information put out tonight, and whether it's accurate or not, who really knows? I think we know what our operational costs are, though. So give us a chance to work with the school, and if there's another alternative that we can do that makes sense legally, liability-wise, and operation-wise, then we would certainly bring that back to the council for your consideration.
And I think that's a great idea. I brought my folder, and there's nobody that wants to support kids more than I do, or more than members of this council. I have a file full of things that we've done for the high school, and you have obviously files of things you've done for us. So just as it's been said, we do a lot for each other, and we care about our kids. We're scrambling with our own budgets right now, and we've gone back to our staff and asked for more cuts, and so we're all in the same boat. There's not enough tax dollars to go around, but to kind of paint Cotonwood as someone who doesn't care about its children, I just don't buy that. That's not how I would paint our city council. Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, I really didn't get the feeling that anyone was suggesting we don't care about the children. I think they all know us better than that to know we do.
Absolutely. We mutually care about our kids.
And like I said, I don't think anybody was saying that. Well, I do, again, I think Mr. Bartosh makes a good proposal. We table this. We sit down, see if we can come out with an agreement that neither hurts the city nor the high school. We can both, we can find a win-win solution.
I think so too.
I do too. So let's take it back to the drawing table and figure out how we can help our children and do whatever we need to do.
And I would just remind the council that if we change arrangements with Mingus High School, we also need to consider the Clippers in that equation as well. I'm sure they'll be back asking for the same type of concessions or IGA or operational plan that that we offer for Mingus.
It's a snowball.
And also, you know, we've talked, just the city manager and I, about the use of the high school, and I didn't realize that it was being used so much.
I'm not quite sure it is.
Okay.
So that's something we need to
Something you
look at,
guys
too.
can talk about.
Yeah.
These are the actual uses, folks. That always frustrates me, so says, I'm not sure it is.
Yeah.
The actual uses, did I give the actual uses? Thanks. But we want that to happen. Don't misunderstand that.
Well, and it's also my understanding that the Guns and Hoses football game is all about supporting the Mingus football team.
It's 50-50. Which is a good thing too. We're not complaining.
Mr. Osher, please, if you would come up to the lectern.
I just have, as a citizen, I have some questions. And this relevant to the current status of the pool and what may have been considered in the past. And it's brought forth only in the manner of cost effectiveness, dealing with what you have now and other investments long-term probably that would assist the efficiency. I gather that the use of the gas is strictly for heating. Is that valid, or is there other uses for the gas?
No, strictly heating.
So
The gas strictly for heating.
Mr. Faust says strictly for heating.
Now, there are solar, I don't mean, I mean just having bags up there where the water can be circulated, the sun can do the heating, the sun doesn't cost, but there's an initial cost, and maybe not now, but long-term that might be an efficiency as electricity for circulating the water. So then, is there a pool cover on the pool? Is there presently a pool cover?
Mr. Faust?
No.
No, there is not.
Yes? No?
No.
Is that a cost-effective consideration, or is it more
That is the
than
most
we pay
cost-efficient.
by having a pool cover to maintain, reduce evaporation? Any questions, comments on that?
That's the most cost-efficient way to prevent evaporation and keep facility costs down in aquatic facilities.
So if you would please, this is being recorded, and in order to take minutes correctly, we need speakers to come up to the lectern, and please introduce yourself and for the record.
Just one last question.
Okay.
UV purification or something of that nature, is that cost-effective and very effective relative to the chemicals used to maintain the pool safe?
Thank you. Okay, so, sir, if you would come up.
My name is Brendan Kenny, and I'm the current coach of the Mingus Union swim team, the boys and the girls. I originally just wanted to talk about my kids more than anything else, and just let you know that I hope we can come to something that works for both sides. I've worked 13 years in aquatics, spent a lot of time running aquatics facilities in the Midwest before I moved out here. Olympic-size indoor facilities with another kid facility with slides and lazy rivers, things such as that, as well as an outdoor pool. It was a college town. And anyway, I just wanted to go about the pool cover is one of the best ideas that I've heard. I mean, I know the solar is obviously another thing, and that went into the recreation center, which is wonderful. The pool cover is, and you can find it on all sorts of government agency websites and everything, the best way to help deflect some of the costs. So that was the only part there that I was going to bring up, but.
Thank you.
Yeah. If I may, counsel, but as we look at pool covers, the last cover was pretty well worn and tattered, and at the time period, we thought about replacement of it. The one problem we have is we have to pay for overtime of our guards in order to be able to, we didn't have a actual automated system that would go over the pool. We didn't establish cleats in the side of the pool. All of that would have to be done at some time in the future because the brand new pool did not come with cleats in the side to actually fit a specific size type of a tarp or pool cover. Again, covers are very expensive, and again, that's a capital cost. I think the last time we spent close to $18,000 to $20,000 on a specific mill thickness of cushion style. And again, they are very expensive. I know that that's what the Clippers did, is the Clippers put money into the pool facility. I would maybe challenge that if Mingus Union High School has, you know, availability to talk about solar, I mean, I think they can get it cheaper than what the city can also. So there might be some options there to work side by side with Mingus in order to, you know, maybe write a grant or get solar systems there at the facility and be able to utilize Mingus's good name in that way to obtain a solar type of a system to, you know, heat that water for the fall time. There's an option there. Now, same thing with the, you know, maybe a retracting automated type of a pool cover. That might be something that they could help and assist with also.
Mr. Pratt.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that we should make a motion to table this right now.
Please.
And all these issues we're talking about, we can discuss when we meet together.
Please
Would be a more appropriate time.
I'd entertain the motion.
I move that we table the consideration of the intergovernmental agreement with Mingus Union High School for use of the Cotonwood Aquatic Center pool from August 2013 to November 2013.
Second.
So Mr. Pratt made the motion and the Vice Mayor seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we want to thank everyone here from Mingus High School or the parent of any child in Mingus and our governing board and our new superintendent. Thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the next item is the new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Item number 1.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Before we begin, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask, but I would like to request that further on down in our agenda, which would be the executive session, I'd like to see that tabled so that till the next meeting, so that the council can be, all members can be there physically. I'm due to get out of here next Wednesday, and as bad as the communication is over this phone line, and as important as that item is, I'd like to be present, physically present to discuss that.
So the consideration of the council?
I would defer to Councilman Yadagi if he feels strongly about it. We ought to consider his request.
But our Vice Mayor will be gone.
I'll be back Monday.
You'll be back Monday? Okay. So that is the pleasure of the council? You're shrugging. Don't care?
Don't care.
Don't care. Okay, so I think it's, everybody else good with that?
That's fine.
Okay, so we're going to table that item until we can all be here. Okay. Okay, that was item number 11. Yeah. Okay, back to number 1, special event liquor license application submitted by Lana Tollison, applicant for the Cotonwood Chamber of Commerce for the 3 business mixers scheduled for September 19th, 2013 at 597 East State Route 89A and December 12th, 2013 at 500 East Cherry. And the Vice Mayor and Mr. Pratt, I think,
Conflict.
will declare conflicts
Yes.
on this item. And we have with us Lana Tollison, the Chamber Director, tonight. Do you wish to comment on this item at all?
There's only 2 licenses on there. Originally there were 3, but 1 was.
Okay.
Do we need a motion?
We certainly do.
I'll move to recommend approval of the special event liquor license application submitted by Lana Tollison, applicant for the Chamber of Commerce for chamber mixers scheduled September 19, 2013 and December 12, 2013.
So which one are you removing?
No,
It isn't on there.
They're all here. Okay, got it.
I'll second that.
Okay, so, and we have 5 people on board, so we're good. We have Mr. Elinsky made the motion and Mr. Dowling seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, council. Item number 2 is notice of intent to adjust water and wastewater rates, fees, and charges for the City of Cotonwood municipal water and wastewater utilities. Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, Mayor, Council. This goes back to August of 2011 when we first had a conversation about the need to go ahead and make adjustments to our water rates. Just a second, I lost one. And since then, of course, we put together a committee to look at the water rates and come up with a raw water rate study. And we had, you may recall, just last week we had an item on our work session to discuss water rates and how we should structure them. At this point in time, this is not a time for, this is not a public hearing, but we will have probably 2 public hearings at least before it's actually approved. You'll have one when we actually have the reading of the ordinance, and then when we have second reading, we usually allow people to speak. What we're looking at is we have to post a notice, and the instructions are on here. We have to abide by ARS 951101. And we have the notice ready to go, and it will be posted in several locations. Of course, it'll come to the city clerk, and will also be posted on our website and also in the newspaper at least one time as required. We also plan to go ahead and send that notice, place that notice inside of our billing for the next month. So the sooner we can get that notice out, the quicker we can start getting them into the different cycles, because they have multiple cycles when we go out to do our billing. We don't just do one billing a month. Outside of that, we're looking at coming back on August 7th, I believe, to do the adoption, and then again, I believe on the 20th or 21st to do the final second reading and implement these right after October 1st.
Okay. So, Mr. Pratt, you have your finger up?
Yeah, we've done an awful lot of work on this. I was on the ad hoc committee. We talked about this quite a bit as a council, and I think probably this one might be close to a no-brainer, since we agreed that we need to do this, that I think we should give our finance director the go-ahead to send out a notice.
And so is there anyone from the public who would like to address this item? If not, Mr. Pratt, a motion, please, if you'd like.
Madam Mayor, sorry to interject, but if I could recommend that the motion include the date set for the hearing, because the statute requires the council both adopt the notice of intent and set the hearing.
Okay.
I move to provide a notice of intent to adjust water and wastewater rates, fees, and charges for the City of Cottonwood Municipal Water and Wastewater Utility, and to have a public hearing on August 7th?
6th.
August 6th, and a second reading on
August 20th.
August 20th.
Okay, Mr. Pratt made the motion, Mr. Elinsky seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Great work on that, Rudy. It's been a long road.
Okay, item number 3 is approval of construction manager at risk, pre-construction services proposal from D.L. Wither Construction for the proposed Emergency Communication Center project. Mr. Manjapan.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm coming to you tonight requesting approval of the proposal that D.L. Withers has given us for providing pre-construction services during the design phase of the project. We went through a process of selecting CMARs for this project. We put out a notification requesting qualifications. We received 9 packets of qualifications, statements of qualifications. We had a committee review those. We narrowed it down to 4 firms to interview. We interviewed 4 firms, and out of the 4 firms, the highest ranked was D.L. Withers. So we worked with them on a proposal. We got a proposal from them. Again, this is just for pre-construction services. This is not leading into a GMP. Does not even include the fee for the GMP. That'll all be a separate proposal, separate negotiation, and we'll come back to you for approval to proceed with that. So basically, we're hiring them as a consultant during the design phase to help us with estimating
pre-construction surveys, recommendations, constructability issues, all the things we'd like to take advantage of by having a contractor on board ahead of time. It's the same process we used for the rec center, although this is a much smaller scale. I do have here tonight representatives from D.L. Withers, so if there's any specific questions you all might have of them, they're happy to address any of that. I'd like to introduce them at a minimum.
Please.
So you get to meet them all.
Please do that.
First gentleman I want to introduce is Dan Withers, who's president of the company.
So would you like to come up? And that would be great if maybe all of you could, so that our television citizens can also meet you.
TV. And then we have John Milbert, who will be the senior project manager for the project, and Eric Noble, who will be the project manager.
Okay. And council questions. Did you have some questions? You were kind of talking about some thoughts last night or at the budget meeting?
Well, just on the general idea of moving forward with this plan, but not when it comes to the construction of it.
Okay. And the construction manager at risk process has worked well. It worked for the rec center, and now we're using it for the reclamation plant, and it just seems like something that the city's kind of grown comfortable using as this process.
In fact, I think at one point we had a small project that went out to bid, and I was asked why we didn't do something because it did go so well for the rec center. And at this point for this type of a project, we really want to have somebody on board to help with the estimates like that. D.L. Withers is...
Can you get a little bit closer to the mic there?
One of the things that helped us select D.L. Withers is they are currently working on a very similar facility down in Goodyear. It's a little bit bigger than what we're planning on building, but it's also by the same architects we've selected for our facility. So it's a good team. We've been down to see a couple other projects that they've worked together on. Very happy with the results. The people that are running the centers are very happy with the results. So I think it'll work out to be a very good overall team effort by everybody.
Okay. So please.
If I may address
Yes.
the council. Well, we've been in business 32 years. I'm the founder. Now that I'm over 60 years old, I'm the founder. But we've done numerous projects all over the state. We've done a number of these facilities. We've done, we've done facilities like this in Tucson, in Marana, in Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix. We're currently building Sheriff Joe Arpaio's office in downtown Phoenix, which is a $50 million project that includes one of these facilities as well. So there's a lot of tricks to the trade that you need to know when you build these. So we've got a lot of experience. These are the gentlemen that have that kind of experience. And the superintendent we're going to put on the project has extensive experience. So it's not something you want to do as your first cruise. So we're very pleased to, if we do receive the award this evening, we're very pleased that you're placing your trust in us. You could look at it as a smaller project, but all of these have the same number of parts. They're all critical. And, so we're very pleased that you're considering us.
Okay, thank you.
Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I trust our project manager here.
It was a long process for selection, so I think...
and this isn't your first rodeo, so...
No, and the selection committee was made up of several staff members, including the fire chief, Gary Eisinger, the commander over the dispatch center, Marie Carpenter, the manager of the dispatch center, myself. We also have an outside architect, Chris Winoski, as well as an outside contractor, Tim Kinney, all sat in on the board. So we had a lot of variety of opinions as far as the selection process. And I'll have to admit that D.L. Withers was the #1 ranking during the SOQ review. They also turned out to be the #1 ranking after the interviews. So it made the process a fairly easy decision.
And for the public's sake, can you just in a few sentences talk about the construction manager at risk process, what that all entails? Because I think that's something that everybody, and the public especially, and sometimes on the council is what is the exact process?
Actually, I'll let Dan describe it a little bit, just from
Okay.
his point of view, because
Great, great.
it'll be more detailed that.
Well, the construction manager risk process is a process by which we get involved very early on with your design team, and we go through the whole, what we call pre-construction process, up to the point of breaking ground on the project. And then we develop a guaranteed maximum price on that project, and with your approval, move forward to build it as well. So it's a complete process from beginning to end. The advantage to doing that instead of putting it out to bid after it's designed is that you're aware of everything that's going on. I mean, we keep your staff completely aware. We give you a preliminary budget up front, so there's not a lot of surprises. We give you a budget so you can plan all the steps that you have to do, which is really essential in this kind of a project. Our staff, a lot of others who aren't here tonight, estimators, BIM coordinators, which is building information modeling. We're going to put this project, if you so desire, computerize it. A lot of advantages to that. We can do things in real time in terms of adjust budgets and schedules, as well as we can do some 3D modeling. We can do presentations for you and take you through tours of the building if you wish. But the main thing is there's no surprises. You up front can pick what you want in the building, your staff. There's a lot of decisions you're going to have to make with tight budgets, that we understand what you want in the building, what you can afford, and what your ultimate budget's going to be. And then we work toward that to get to that guaranteed maximum price. Once we get to the guaranteed maximum price, which is all open book, by the way, we bid it out, you see all of it. You get a competitive bid advantage at that point because you've already established our fee, and we're working for you now, and so we put it out to bid. We pre-qualify subcontractors that are specialists in this kind of work, and we put it out to competitive bid. So you get the competitive bid advantage as well as the other advantage. So once we arrive at a guaranteed maximum price, then that price can't go up. I mean, unless you change scope and add to the building or something. That's a guaranteed maximum price that you're going to spend. It comes in under budget, then you get the savings on the project. So it's kind of a win-win situation. We've done this for a number of years and feel comfortable doing it for you. So, and it's an easy way for you to be involved in the entire process.
And the question that we always ask, is there any possibility or, plan to use any local people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody will be included, and you get first choice. We do a lot of work in different locales, and so again, we will make every effort to look at everybody local, vendors, suppliers, subcontractors. Go out of our way to solicit those bids. They have an opportunity to bid. We make everything apples and apples, so they have a fair opportunity to bid the project. And then,
wonderful.
Again, you're going to approve that final number in those subs, so you have a vote in that as well.
Okay. And we also have a lot of legalities we have to follow too, so sure. We always have a lot of rules that we're bound under.
I mean, the other thing is, and I mentioned today, we had a team lunch we're building the Mirage Police Center. We had a team lunch with the same architect today. We're about halfway through that project. And one of the things that I commended, and we had a team lunch for all the subcontractors. We had, I think, 4 council members, the mayor and the police chief were there. It's a great team effort. And one of the things that I commended them on, as well as commending you, is you're creating jobs.
That's what we want to do.
All know right now. You can talk about jobs all you want. We can hear the governor talk about jobs and all that, but when the rubber hits the road is when you're on the job site, guys are digging, laying block, pulling conduit, and going to the store on Friday with their paychecks and buying things. That's what jobs are. So we're very
That's
pleased
good news. We like to hear that. So thank you. Any other questions by Vice Mayor?
No, but he's pointing to me doing this. Means no brainer.
Oh.
We communicate by hand signs.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
I move to approve the proposal submitted by D.L. Withers Construction for pre-construction services for the Emergency Communications Center for a not-to-exceed amount of $22,500.
Second.
Okay, the Vice Mayor made the motion. Mr. Pratt seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for driving up and meeting with us tonight. Up or down or, yeah, okay. We're looking forward to that.
Thank you, folks.
We definitely know it's desperately needed. Okay, so the next item is claims and adjustments. I move to pay the claims.
Second.
The mayor made the motion, the vice mayor seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I move to adjourn.
Second.
The mayor made the motion, Councilmember Pratt seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.